Good morning. Today on Spotlight Michigan 2020, will you be counted in the census that rolls around every decade? It's the one thing in our nation and state that directly affects every man, woman, child, household, and business in our nation and the state of Michigan. Today, what you need to know before filling out this very important form. Carrie Ebersole Singh, the Michigan Director of Census 2020, will be my guest. It's Sunday, February the 2nd. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. Welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you, Chuck. It's good to be here.
All right, fill in the blank for me. If Michigan doesn't get the 2020 census right, what?
Well, there's a few things that make this very critical. One is the federal funding, our tax dollars that come into our communities that support Medicaid, Medicare, nutrition programs for seniors, school lunch programs for kids, but also our congressional representation. So the census is mandated by our Constitution.
We could lose a seat or two.
It's possible. It is possible, and we can only control one thing, and that's ensuring everyone gets counted, and we can be in the hunt to maintain our congressional seats.
If we lose a seat, and we'll drill down on this a little more later, but just at the outset, if we lose a seat, what are the chances it will come from Southeast Michigan, because this is where the real population base is for the state?
Yeah, I think it's hard to predict. I mean, we're entering a new era here in Michigan with the Redistricting Commission and the population count. From my standpoint, I want to make sure we count everyone, whether they're in rural Michigan or in the urban areas, and then those numbers come March 2021 will be turned over to the Redistricting Commission.
What excites you the most about the 2020 census as the leader of it here in this state?
I am excited about the census and passionate. It's really important to our state, and I think it's something that folks don't normally think about because it only happens every 10 years. But this is fundamentally critical to so many programs. On top of, if you don't fill out your census form, it's like writing a check to another state, because if they do a better job counting their population, those tax dollars will be allocated to other places.
You've been out on the stump, and you'll be doing it, I'm sure, a whole lot more throughout this year. What's the biggest question that you get from people? Or do they even want to talk about it?
There's questions, and usually one is, how long is the form? Is it going to be, is there a long form this year? That's one of the questions. And that the good answer is very convenient. There's 9 questions on the census form. It should only take you a few minutes.
That's it, 9 questions?
9 questions.
All right, the average length of time to fill it out is what?
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yes.
What worries you the most in this job?
Yeah, I think there's 2 things. One is, there's been some research by the U.S. Census Bureau that has identified a couple of things. One is apathy. Folks don't understand the importance or why we have the census.
They just think you're getting in their business.
People may think we're getting in their business, but there are...
In a sense, we are.
But
for good reason.
Yes, for good reason, and it's really, so that's one piece, that people don't understand the impact, but 2 is, I think, let's be honest, there's a distrust in government, and I understand that people may feel that way, but that's what's great about the census, because it's completely confidential. Your information is not shared with any other agency. This is for statistical purposes.
Can you emphasize that? Not enough, because you're absolutely right. There's a lot of apathy out there.
Yeah.
There's partisanship, all of those things put together. Do people believe you when you say this is absolutely confidential by law? No other department can use this information against you?
Well, and I want to highlight that here in Michigan, our commission that's been appointed by the governor is bipartisan. So partisanship should not enter in this discussion. This is about bringing our tax dollars home to our communities, 1. 2 is, yes, Title 13, I can get all legal jargon with you in terms of people will go to jail if they were to share your personal information, but also folks are putting more information on social media these days than actually what is asked on the census.
Yeah, as we always say, too much information. Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to really drill down on specifics about the census that people should know and what you're going to be doing in this job this year to try to deliver the right count for the state of Michigan.
Sounds great.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. We're 45th place in terms of population growth among states in the United States. But it's been teeter-tottering, going back and forth, okay, because 10 years or so ago, we weren't quite at that number. We're at about 9,800,000. This fluctuation here, what's causing that? Do we know?
Well, there's a few reasons. Our population has been going up, or we've been growing as a state because of migration. You know, folks moving to the state from other states and other countries, and so that's the powerful thing. And one of the things we want to tell through the 2020 census is not only our growth as a state, the economic opportunity that exists here, and wanting our fair share as a part of that census. So it's an exciting time.
All right, but now the job that you have before you
Yes.
is to capture that
Yes.
On paper.
Yes.
And you just said that a lot of that has been growth by immigrants coming into this state. If there's a distrust, it may be from those individuals, correct?
Yeah, there's no doubt. We have a challenge here in 2020 around the census, and that's why it's an all hands on deck moment for our state. That's why we're partnering with communities and different constituencies to really drive home the point of the importance of the census and recognizing that information is confidential and there should not be any fear around that.
So in this area particularly, are you working with groups like in Southwest Detroit, in Dearborn, and other places where you have large immigrant populations, for organizations that they trust? Because they probably
Yes.
don't trust the U.S. government census.
Right. Absolutely. So I would reference Michigan Nonprofit Association as a big partner with us on the state, as well as we have Access and the NAACP, some faith organizations, business organizations. So we have a wide list of constituencies represented on our state committee.
And is it your experience that if they get the president, you know, Reverend Wendell Anthony with the NAACP or Hassan with Access, those people saying do this, that they'll trust them?
Well, I think they're definitely a huge partnership that's going to help us deliver this job for our state. But we also want to talk to neighbors and folks that may benefit from some of the programs that are supported. You know, whether it's a Meals on Wheels program that are supported by some of those federal dollars, or Head Start programs, or workforce development programs. We want to tell that story from folks that are participating in those programs.
So every time someone doesn't participate in the census, in terms of dollars and cents, what's that costing this day?
Yeah, let me say broadly, it's approximately $30 billion to our state annually over 10 years. And then you break that roughly amongst 10 million people, that's $3,000 a person per year, so it's $30,000. And again, these are tax dollars we're already paying to the federal government. And they're going to allocate those dollars somewhere. And if you do not count or participate in the census, then those dollars are going to go to another state.
All right, last time around, I believe 10 years ago, the city of Detroit had the lowest rate of any major city in terms of responding to the census. Only 64% of households responded.
Yeah.
That's a huge number, and that's a big gap to make up.
Yep.
How do you do it?
Well, I got to tell you, the mayor is doing a phenomenal job, and their executive director, Vicky Kabari. They also have a local complete count committee, and they have been engaged for over a year now in engaging the communities. They've gone door to door this fall, raising awareness about the census coming in 2020. And I think their multifaceted program is going to help engage and deliver a complete count for Detroit.
All right. The census will be done online initially. Now, explain that so that people understand, because
Yes.
I know a lot of people just probably heard that and say, oh my gracious,
Yes.
I've got to do this online, or
Yes.
maybe I don't have access to a computer.
Yes.
So how do you get around that and still get that individual counted?
Yes, so the census is convenient. Not only is it only 9 questions, but also you can fill it out online over the phone, or through the mail. So this year, a number of folks will get a postcard in the mail in the middle of March inviting them to the online site to fill out the form.
So March is a key month in
Yes,
this.
March 12th is when the online form goes live, so it's a very exciting time. And then you'll get additional 4 mailings reminding you to fill out the census. If you don't respond by the end of April, you will get a paper form in the mail that you can mail back. Folks without internet access.
Can they go to libraries?
You can go to libraries, DHHS offices and their lobbies. We'll also have kiosks. I know the city of Detroit has also been identifying additional locations around the city. So we are working not only with the city, but across the state to have those locations for folks to go and fill out their census form. And then the question you just asked me, I want to say that if you don't fill out your census form by the end of April, that's when the door-to-door operation starts.
That's
with the
when
U.S.
census taker walks up to you and you hear your dog barking.
That's right, dog barking or your dinner interrupted. So I really encourage everyone to fill out that census form before the end of April.
All right, question I got in this building the other day, just walking through, someone said, do I have to fill out the census form? The answer?
We are required to fill out the census form, but there's no precedence for any follow-up or repercussions from not. But other than your money's going someplace else.
All right, they aren't going to necessarily lock you up and throw you in jail, but you've now hurt your state, you've hurt your city, you've
your
hurt
community.
Where you're living because of the dollars and cents that are directly tied to that.
Yep.
All right, we're going to take another break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Stay with us. Director, we talked about the fact that census takers will start going and knocking on doors in April. Those are jobs that are available, part-time jobs?
Yes, there are jobs right now, part and full-time jobs that are available. You can apply today online, and I would encourage you to actually visit our website at michigan.gov/census2020, and there will be a link to take you to that job application with the U.S. Census Bureau.
Does it pay well?
It pays pretty well. There are areas in the state that are paying $24 an hour. Again, these are flexible jobs.
Can I do it at night?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'd love to sign you up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for seniors or college kids or someone that just wants to add in additional hours of work to bring in some income.
Any special qualifications you need to have? Any special education level?
No, but you will have a background check, and because you will be out in the community representing the U.S. Census Bureau. So other than that, and filling out the application and going through a pretty rigorous training, that's really the only requirements.
Because you got I'm sure there are tips they have to give them in terms of their own safety too, because they're going to be going through all different types of communities and all different type of places, and to know what you can and can't do and the boundaries.
Also, they swear an oath for life when you become a U.S. Census worker.
Really?
To protect and not share individual information.
We have a big rural area,
Sure.
a lot of farms. We're a big agricultural state, and also we're unique because we have the UP.
Yes, yes. Well, I would say a couple of things. I think there's a lot of similarities of what matters to our communities, whether you're in rural Michigan or urban Michigan, and that's our roads and public safety. Those are a couple of programs that are helped supported by those federal funds that come in based on the census. Also, there's a set of substance abuse programs as well. On top of those school lunch programs I mentioned before, literacy programs for kids. I mean, I think that's something that's not an urban or rural issue. That's something that we can collectively say is important.
And you're partnering with, is it the University of Michigan and some kind of data resource center that they have there?
Yeah, they have. I mean, we have a number of academic institutions in the state that rely heavily on census data.
People are used to crunching numbers and making the numbers sing, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what has been an interesting learning piece for me is the census data is the golden standard of data. And those statistics that are learned from this census form, economic development, what kind of products you're generating, where you want to locate a factory.
But I thought about something else that has become very, very popular, and that is people tracing their ancestry and their history.
Yes.
I think about the show with Dr. Henry Louis Gates on PBS, and how fascinating it is. And every time he's sitting across from someone talking about what they discovered about their family umpteen number of years ago, he says, in the such and such census of whatever that year was, this is what we found out about your particular family.
Yes.
So in a real sense, if you're just only interested maybe in your family, you're sort of cheating your future relatives by not participating in the census.
I've heard some amazing stories as I've attended events around the state of folks using the census data just like that to research their family ancestry. And 1940 is the last census information where individual data is available, and they can see, oh, my siblings lived here, or my grandma and grandfather lived here, or this is when they came to Detroit. So there's really some beautiful stories out there that the census information can be utilized for.
You are doing various sessions throughout the state, I guess workshops, town halls.
Yes.
Those are coming up. Talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, so we have a statewide tour kicking off around the state that'll include the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and then the Lieutenant Governor. The whole idea here is to raise awareness. The census is going to be starting in March and helping to educate folks on why this matters to our state and our communities.
You just mentioned Lieutenant Governor. First time in the history of this state we have an African-American Lieutenant Governor.
Yes.
Does that help in a city like Detroit and in this region where you have a large Arab American population? We just cited the numbers before that we did not do a good job in terms of counting all the households before for all different types of reasons. But to have him as a spokesperson to be able to go throughout the community and say, this is important that my people, so to speak, participate in this.
Well, I think what's great, if you've seen the Lieutenant Governor speak, you've heard him say, stand tall. And it's important.
No pun intended,
yes,
right?
Stand tall, be counted. This is our voice. Also, this is what's ours. He likes to frame and talk about the census as this is not what's at stake, what we may lose, but this is what's ours. And this gets back to, these are tax dollars we're already paying to the federal government. These are ours. We want them to come back to our communities.
All right, take one more break. We'll hurry right back, and we'll talk a little bit about Carrie Ebersole Singh. We'll be right back. Stay with us. So that people get to know you a little better, since you're the face of the 2020 census, talk a little bit about you. You have a long political background. The governor tapped you, I think, partly because you've been involved on so many different levels, and you know that this is a political arena, even though what you're doing now is a very bipartisan initiative.
Yes. Issue advocacy, I've been passionate about our state and our communities. I would say my parents were public educators, and they raised me, you want to leave this place better than you found it. So I've tried to engage in issues and with elected officials that share that passion for our communities.
All right, and in leading a bipartisan effort, how do you get around the fact that you have Democrat in your background, because you've worked for President Obama, you've worked for Jennifer Granholm, you've worked for state representatives who were Democrats, and your husband used to be in the Michigan legislature. Sam Singh used to be the Democratic leader and floor leader.
No one's trying to disguise anything, Chuck.
He's not in the legislature now. We should say that. He did his term. He's back out in the private sector.
I've been also fortunate on a number of the issues I worked on have been bipartisan. So I've been able to build a number of relationships across the aisle. Here on the census effort, Senator Stamas, the chair of appropriations in the state Senate, as well as Julie Kelly, representative from the west side of Michigan in the legislature, are partners on this effort. So I think if you talk to any Republicans about me, they would say they're happy to have a conversation with me. Our tax dollars is something that really I think it resonates across the political spectrum, but I think in particular, I know I've heard Senator Stamas reference that a few times.
Yeah, young people, and back to talking about the census in terms of getting data and getting information and getting people to respond to it. What group based upon past information, has been the most reluctant to respond. Maybe not because they don't trust it, but just because of their lifestyles. Is it young people and is it seniors?
I would say young people. We're doing additional research on this, and as I mentioned, the city of Detroit and there's other communities around the state. They have a door-to-door operation where they're surveying the community. So we're still digging through those numbers to see what resonates. But I think a lot of folks that are younger, they've never filled out a census form.
Right.
And so this is new, and they don't. There may be a lack of understanding,
and then, they may be in school. They may be just in starting a new job. There's a lot coming at them. They're just trying to navigate their way through becoming sort of new adults, and they don't have that past history. But that's where it becomes incumbent upon those of us who've been around for a while to really talk to our young people about why this is important so they understand.
Yes, absolutely. So we want to engage folks regardless of age, but in particular those young segments. If you're a TikTok influencer out there, I want to talk to you. I want to figure out how we engage in all the social media platforms because we want to communicate with those folks. You mentioned seniors as well. I would just touch that since it's online, we recognize that folks may be less inclined. While my parents are in their 70s, they're happy to have their Facebook profile and jump online, but there are other seniors that will be less inclined to go online, but at the same time they don't want to open their door. So we want to make sure that they have access to a paper form or the phone number where they can fill out that census form.
And if it's seniors who need help, maybe because of health or any number of other reasons, what can others do legally and not legally to be able to help them?
Sure. So if they're able to go to one of those locations where a kiosk is available, they can fill out their census form there, or there will be U.S. Census workers that can come and help you fill out the census form. Or I know there's some operations that will around the state that will be knocking on doors with iPads. And the demarcation is that person can't fill out the form. The person living in that residence has to push the buttons and fill out the form.
All right, last final question. Of the 50 states, which state has been the best at filling out the census?
You know what? It's Wisconsin.
Really?
Yeah, 2010, Wisconsin was number one.
What is it about those cheeseheads that make them fill it out?
But that's what I say to Michigan. Why should we not be number one? So let's organize, let's partner, and let's deliver.
Another Midwest state.
Yes.
All right, we have to learn something from those Wisconsinites. All right, Carrie Ebersole-Singh, thanks so much for coming in. Best of luck. We'll get you back, update this, because this is going to go on all year long.
Appreciate that.
All right. And we want to thank you at home for joining us. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight. Have a good week, and don't forget to fill out your census.